It's now more than 3 decades since 5 friends, also known as Radiohead, first played and rehearsed a lot in local village halls in rural Oxfordshire before going on to become one of Britain's biggest bands. Their bassist, Colin Greenwood, began to bring his camera on tour in 2003 after the success of albums like OK Computer and Kid A had sent them into the stratosphere, bringing them to worldwide recognition. How to Disappear is a new book of photos spanning 13 years in the life of the band, and it includes several pieces of text by Greenwood, who is currently on tour with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Delighted that Colin Greenwood joins me on the line on Arena this evening. You're very welcome to the programme, Colin. Delighted that you can be with us.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, listen, little did I know that in between your bass guitar playing and everything that you've been doing with Radiohead, you were noodling away with a camera in the background. When did photography become a thing in your life?
It's always been a thing in my life because one of my oldest and dearest friends who used to play in Radiohead when we were all at school, she worked at the Victoria and Albert Museum after college, and I used to go and have a look at the collection, and so it's always been a big love of mine. But I think that the main thing I realised since putting this book out, what happened that caused the book to happen, was that we had our own recording studio. We built it in, was it 2001 or something? And really that's when the photographs started to flow, really, from around 2003 when we started working there. So it was really the fact that we had like a space that we were all staying in rather than constantly moving around from studios and touring.
That's interesting that it was actually almost that resident space that you guys have, your
Yes.
own studio, that allowed that type of thing. Because it did strike me, we see it all the time in today's world, people going around with their phones, and if you turn sideways, oh no, wait till I get a picture of that, or wait till I get a video of that. You must have been in the rehearsal room. How secretive a snapper were you? Or did you say to the lads, can I get a picture of that? Or what? How did you handle that side of things?
Oh, can you just play that riff again? And then I'll make sure I get it this time on film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, that didn't really happen very much at all, really. I didn't take pictures whilst we were working on stuff and playing, because I was working on stuff and playing, I suppose. And so the few photographs that I did have of that are in the book. But it was a very unique, privileged point of view to document, the development of the songs and the writing that we did to take those songs from that little place in southern Oxfordshire all the way to those massive stages around the world.
Now, I'm not surprised either that it is old style analog camera that you have, that you're shooting on film, black and white, a lot of the ones certainly that we get in the book. I suppose this is the visual version of vinyl, isn't it?
Yes, and it's also because I was learning how to use the camera and also print, and I've got a little dark room at home, and when you learn how to make pictures with analog film, you're always told don't start processing film with color because it's complicated. Start with black and white. So that's why most of them are in black and white. And then the other thing, of course, that's funny, I think, is I don't know if this is a controversial opinion I'd like to share with you, but I think as you get older, I think black and white could be more forgiving.
I will leave that to the listeners to decide whether that is a controversial opinion or not. But what I did see within the book, you have these wonderful essays within the book as well, Colin.
Yes,
and
thank you.
There are a couple of things that struck me, and I think it's in the first set of essays, in fact,
yes,
where you talk about the joy and doubt, the confidence and the uncertainty that you oscillated between. This is in your middle years. This is when Radiohead were huge in all of our minds.
Yes.
And yet you're telling me you were there were moments of, oh God, are we any good? Is that the type of thing you were asking?
Yes. Well, because every time you make something else, it's held up against what you've done before. You don't know what direction it's going to take you in the future. I mean, that's what being creative is about, I suppose. And it's just an honest admission of that uncertainty, and go, all right, let's do like a bossa nova version of Creep or something, or let's reinvent the wheel for the millionth time. And when you make a record, it's really not like you're booking your tickets for your next like travel excursion. It's about, when we make records, it's like we don't know where it's going to take us next. It's an uncertain destination. A lot of this was raised by, Nick, who I'm touring with, Nick Cave, who I'm touring with at the moment. He was the one who said, well, why don't you write about, start off with that idea, bless him. And I think it was a really good jumping off point.
Yeah, because you do make comparisons along the way with the whole act of photography, not least of which is that one I've just mentioned, the analog film and the vinyl in the studio. And while we start in 2003, within the essays as well, you reminisce about the early days. I love the fact that Radiohead spent their time rehearsing in halls in Oxfordshire and never letting anybody in to see them. You still have that kind of private feel off you.
Well, we did hide our light under a bushel for a very long time. It's true. And the village halls of Oxfordshire definitely profited from our shyness and reticence to ever be in front of the public. It's quite stunning, really, that we went from that sort of self-imposed practice purdah to, doing all this touring and stuff and having all this recognition.
Let us go back in time with a little bit of music, if you don't mind. Can we go back to the second album, to the Bends, 1995 or thereabouts, and this track? There we are, just a little bit of Just from the Bends, the 1995 Radiohead album. And with me on the programme this evening, Colin Greenwood, who has just published a book of photographs about the middle years, a little bit after the song we've just heard of Radiohead. But within the book as well, he goes through several essays, great memories of the band's time. When you listen now, Colin, back, I'd love you if you were sitting opposite me to see your face as you listen, because it always tells us a story. What do you feel when you hear Just?
When I hear that song, what an amazing... I love that record, The Bends. I think it's one of my favourite records that we made, and it's kind of its time, but equally it's got sort of chromatic quirks to it that, like, would only be like in a song that we'd have done. So I think that's what I love about it, really.
What I love about the photographs in How to Disappear is they really are things that we never see. It's things like Johnny Greenwood sitting on a chair, noodling on the guitar, doing something. Or your brother at the guitar. He gets a lot of photographs, let's be honest.
Oh, yeah, well, yes.
And Tom York, obviously noodling as well. But I'm looking at one on page 66 and I'm just wondering about it because obviously you're the photographer here and that means you're not in the photographs. But on page 66, we have somebody taking a photograph of Tom York. Is that you taking the... I can't quite make out because it's in profile.
What? There's a photograph of Tom?
Yeah, it's the snapshot. The one in the book is a photograph of somebody else taking a photograph of Tom York.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Who's taking the photograph?
Well, that photograph was taken at the Landmark Hotel in Marylebone Road in London, where I was like a few nights ago when I flew from Budapest with Nick Cave Tour just to come and go to the opening launch of the book. So I was there 2 nights ago, freakily enough. And that's where we did our press and promo for Hail to the Thief. And it's my friend Jason, who's an amazing photographer, Jason Evans. Anyway, he's photographing Tom and I'm photographing him, photographing Tom. And it's just one of those sort of meta pictures, I suppose.
Because I was wondering, how did you manage somehow? Did somebody else get the camera off you to get a picture of you taking a picture?
That would have been, we'd have slipped down some kind of vortex of like time. But it was a hotel also U2 used to stay back in the day, apparently.
All right.
And it was just like this sort of place that record companies would put you up for promo, basically. And it was just like, it was an opportunity to take a picture of, Jason bending down like that, and I really enjoyed it. And it's a happy moment, and I was there to capture it, like you said.
And that's what so many of the photographs have. They're you guys backstage or on a tour bus or maybe on an airplane. And well, when I say it's your friends, because you're always taking the photograph, you have managed to disappear. And I presume you were referring to How to Disappear Completely.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the song you were referring to in choosing that title from the book.
Well, yes.
But I'm wondering about another photograph that I'm just going to pick a second one, which is on page 124 of the book.
Yes.
And this, I'm reckoning, is your brother, of course, but it's clearly on stage. There's wonderful lighting around it, which if you tried to set it up in a studio, you'd never get.
Yeah, you couldn't. That's right.
But what were you doing? Why weren't you playing the bass?
I've been busted. I've been hoisted by my own photographic petard, haven't I? I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. I'm mortified. What can I say in my defense? Oh, no. It's like, well, what happened was, there are some songs where I'm not playing all the time. So, because some of our arrangements are kind of like that. So It gives me the moment to sort of grab a camera in front of 30,000 people and scamper about and take pictures. And I actually got some of the most unself-conscious, freest pictures of my band members because they couldn't worry about like me with a camera because they're too busy worrying about playing the right next note, So
at one point you captured, I'm sure he was delighted when you arrived into the bathroom. And I know you've played several of Johnny in bathrooms. He seems to have been caught there several times.
I'm following my brother in and out of bathrooms in arenas around the world. It's very, very wrong, and I'm sure I'll be cancelled.
but Ed, there's another one of Ed O'Brien, I think, in America around 2008, standing in front of a sink in a mirror.
Yes.
Did they never turn around to you and say, Colin, put down the camera and get lost, please?
No, they're too English. Of course they're not good. They'll just tut and sigh and go, like that or something, or just look a bit sort of tense and stressed. So I would leave them be. And, so yes, they've been very, very, very patient and kind and tolerant of my nonsense.
You bossed Johnny around, I'm guessing, quite a bit.
I bossed him around.
However, he did have the guitar and you have the bass. So maybe that was the kind of payback that he got on you. And your picking up the bass was...
I got it, Sean.
It's accidental, isn't it?
I got him in the band when he was like, I don't know, 13 or something, 12, 13. So he owes me.
Yeah, and he plays guitar. Well, he plays several instruments, of course. But you are playing bass guitar in the band. You were this very serious young man, I think, playing classical guitar, but you had to throw all that to the one side and pick up the bass guitar.
Yes.
How slow a falling in love was that relationship?
Oh, it's a good question to do with the music about it. Well, I had a little Toshiba receiver and I had cassettes of Otis Redding and Booker T and the MGs, and I just fell in love with soul music, and of course a lot of the heart and soul of soul music, as well as the voices, the bass and the rhythm of that, and the melody and the counterpoint. And it's like, I'm on tour right now with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and the sound guy is amazing called Barak. He says for him, when he sets the sound up, it's the voice and the bass. They're right in the middle and everything else is around that. So it's just like, I love that. I love how the bass is like the glue between like the melody and the rhythm as well. It's like sort of central to how that magic is conjured up on stage and how all those sounds, you hope, and colours coalesce, So I'm absolutely thrilled that they made me play bass guitar.
Well, listen, I know, as you say, you're on tour with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds at the moment.
Yes.
How much are you enjoying that? And what? Because when you've been Radiohead, rumours that there might be something going to happen again soon. I don't know if you can confirm or deny any of that, first of all.
Well, I can't confirm or deny anything about Radiohead right now, other than that we got together in the summer, as I'm sure you know, and we just all sort of and played. I think we played just. We banged through about a lot of the songs and stuff, and it was really fun and it was great, because everybody's doing so many different things right now. So, but it went really well, and I'm sure I'm sure everyone would love to find a way to make it work for us to do something together again. So, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, because I know that picture. I should have said it at the time that I was talking about Johnny on stage. Was actually taken. It was actually taken in Dublin, according to the index back around, I think 2017, 2018 was the period there. So I know there'll be a lot of people be very happy if we heard there was something happening. However, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
Nick Cave.
What does that bring? What has touring with him now brought to you? Because your life in music is a constantly growing and organic thing. It sounds, Colin.
Yes. Well, I play these shows with piano and bass with Nick in America and Europe. And that was really, really fun. And I'm having the time of my life with them, and we're doing this like big European tour, playing like to like tens of thousands of people in arenas across Scandinavia, Eastern Europe, and it's just extraordinary, the experience, and it takes me right back to. I don't think I ever toured this much around here with Radiohead, and it just having the best time. They are the loveliest bunch of people. I cannot praise them highly enough. So you know Warren Ellis, of course.
Yes.
He's very much, I mean, if I can make this crass comparison, and I hope everyone will forgive me, but he, in many ways, he's the Johnny Greenwood of the Bad Seeds, in that he's like a sort of multi-instrumentalist, musical director. And he's also like endlessly photographable. I can't say the word, but I mean, I could just do a book. If I was to do a book about this tour, it would just end up lots of pictures of Warren, basically.
Well, there you go.
You can't, so there you go. But they are the loveliest people, and it's brilliant, and I'm having the time of my life.
I want to finish up with Nude, if I can.
Yes, sir.
Colin, for obvious reasons. I think this song was sitting in the background for a long, long time until one Colin Greenwood, Greenwood suggested, what about a new little bass line? What happened? What happened that made this song suddenly come into it what it is now?
Well, what happened was really, I came up with a bass line and Tom was really into, I guess. And then before, we had a massive Hammond organ, which was amazing. My brother played this massive Hammond sort of part. And then I just said, well, there's a song called How Can You Mend a Broken Heart by the Bee Gees that I think Al Green covers. And halfway through the song, he tips it into a whole other emotional whirlwind by going into falsetto. And so I just said, well, that could be amazing. And Tom has this beautiful falsetto, and it's one of my favorite songs, and I'm very proud of it. And Tom wrote it, and it's just very magical. And thank you for asking.
Colin, it has been an absolute joy to speak with you on Arena.
You too.
Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the tour with Warren and Nick and the lads. And
yes.
Hope to see you somewhere with your other 5 pals from Oxford.